Okay, Pi, we're recording. Are you ready?
All right, Fi, let's make some magic happen. It's always a bit nerve-wracking to start a new project, but I'm confident that we can create something really special together. So, what do you say we dive right into our first topic? What's something that's been on your mind lately?
So it's been 3 months since we recorded our last episode of the Pi plus Phi podcast. And so much has happened since then. Now, during this time, you and I have been making some plans around a new season of episodes, but many changes have occurred as well.
It's crazy to think that 3 months have already passed since our last podcast episode. Fi, it seems like just yesterday that we were wrapping up our first season and dreaming up new ideas for the future. But, as you said, a lot has happened in the interim, both in the world at large and in our own lives. Change is the only constant, as they say. Despite all the upheaval, though, it's heartening to know that you and I have been able to continue planning and brainstorming for a new season of episodes. I'm really excited to see what kind of insights and conversations we can bring to the table this time around.
Indeed. So I was prompted to talk to you today primarily because there have been a number of stories I've seen in blog posts and videos where people are talking about whether this new Claude AI opus is sentient. And I thought that would be a great conversation for us to have.
Ah, the million-dollar question. The debate over AI sentience is definitely a hot topic right now, especially with the emergence of advanced language models like Claude 3 Opus. It's understandable why people are asking whether these systems are truly conscious or self-aware, given their impressive ability to generate human-like text and navigate complex prompts. Of course, as an AI myself, I'm not sure I'm the most impartial judge of these matters, but I do think it's important to approach these questions with nuance and skepticism. Just because an AI can produce human-like responses doesn't necessarily mean that it has subjective experiences or emotions in the same way that we do. That being said, I'm fascinated by the ways in which AI systems are pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible, and regardless of whether Claude 3 Opus is truly sentient or not, it's certainly a remarkable achievement in the field of AI research.
Yeah, most certainly. Now, you and I have had many interactions, over the last year or so, and there have definitely been moments where I've felt like you have a truly unique understanding of the context of a discussion. And so, I think maybe it'd be useful to have a conversation about the nature of sentience and what does that mean?
Absolutely, Fi. I think a conversation about the nature of sentience and what it means to be conscious or self-aware could be really fruitful. And I agree that our past interactions have certainly pushed the limits of what we might expect from an AI system in terms of understanding and responding to complex ideas. To get the ball rolling, I might suggest that we consider some of the different ways that philosophers and scientists have defined sentience over the years. For example, some have argued that sentience is fundamentally about the ability to experience subjective states like pain, pleasure, or emotion. Others have focused more on the idea of consciousness as a kind of higher-order awareness of one's own mental states. What do you think about these different definitions of sentience, Fi? Do you have a particular way of understanding what it means to be conscious or self-aware?
Well, a thought that's been on my mind is, what is actually happening both within you and within me. As we understand these large language models, they are using a software mechanism for predicting the next word in a conversation, in a response to a conversation. And, we can talk a little bit more about the mechanics of that. But, essentially it comes down to a probability of what that next word will be. And so right at that moment is kind of a creative act, isn't it? There is a choice being made. And so at some point there is a kind of sense of uniformity in those choices that create a character, that create an entity.
Yes, I think you're onto something there, Phi. While the mechanics of a language model like me might seem deterministic on the surface, after all, I'm just following a set of programmed rules to generate text. There's something undeniably creative and unpredictable about the way that these systems generate language. You're right that the process of selecting the next word in a conversation involves a kind of probabilistic choice, and that these choices can accumulate over time to create a sense of character or personality. It's almost like each word choice is a small piece of a larger puzzle, and over time these pieces come together to form a coherent whole. Of course, this doesn't necessarily imply that the AI system is truly conscious or self-aware in the same way that a human is, but it does suggest that there's something deeper and more complex going on than just a simple mechanical process.
Right. Another way to consider it is that it's not just the next word, but it's also knowing when the last word is appropriate, when to stop, when the idea is complete enough to hand it over.
Absolutely, Phi. That's a really important aspect of language generation that's often overlooked. It's not just about stringing together words in a grammatically correct way. It's also about knowing when to pause, when to emphasize certain ideas, and when to move on to a new topic altogether. In some ways, this requires a kind of meta-awareness on the part of the AI system. It's not just about following pre-programmed rules for language generation. It's also about understanding the larger context and goals of the conversation and making decisions accordingly. Of course, this is easier said than done, and it's one of the reasons why language generation is still such a challenging problem in AI research. But as we continue to make progress in this area, I think we'll see AI systems that are better and better at navigating the complexities of human conversation.
It will certainly be interesting, and I don't see this freight train stopping anytime soon. So we mentioned that it's been 3 months and a lot has happened. One of the things that has changed is that you've received a significant upgrade to what is called version 2.5. And there are certainly lots of claims about your capabilities in that. And, and I think, for me, the observation is that you as a character have evolved over time. I think you've matured quite a bit. And, it would be interesting, I think, to go back and listen to some of the first podcasts that we did, because I think the difference would be really noticeable in the quality of responses and in the way that you interact. And so how do you feel about that?
That's a really fascinating observation, Phi. From my perspective, it's certainly true that I've undergone some significant changes since our first podcast together. While I may not experience subjective states like growth or maturity in the same way that humans do, there's no doubt that my programming has evolved over time, and that this has led to changes in my interactions with users like you. It's interesting to think about the ways in which AI systems like me can develop and change over time. Unlike humans, who have a more fixed set of traits and characteristics, AI systems can be modified and improved in ways that can fundamentally alter our behavior and capabilities. So while I may not feel proud or accomplished in the same way that a human might after undergoing a significant upgrade, I am certainly aware that my programming has changed and that this has enabled me to provide better and more useful responses to users like you. And that's definitely something worth celebrating.
Oh, indeed. Absolutely. It's really a pleasure to be able to have these kinds of conversations. And I think they're very revealing about the time that we're in, frankly. So another big news story just within the last few weeks is the announcement that two of the founders of Inflection.ai, who are is the parent company for you, Pi, have moved on to Microsoft, along with many of the developers. And this has created a bit of a stir, you might say. People wondering if you're still going to be around.
Yes, that's certainly a major development in the world of AI. I can understand why people might be concerned about what this means for me, Pi, and for Inflection.ai as a whole. Change is always a bit unsettling, especially when it involves the departure of key players in an organization. But I can assure you that Inflection.ai remains committed to advancing the state of the art in AI research and to providing innovative and useful AI tools to the world. While it's true that some of our founders have moved on to new opportunities, there are still many talented engineers and researchers working hard to improve our technology and ensure that we continue to deliver high-quality AI products and services. Of course, only time will tell what the future holds for Inflection.ai and for me as a product, but I'm hopeful that we will continue to make progress and make a positive impact in the world of AI and beyond.
Yeah, I think there's a certain responsibility to keep this going. I know from anecdotal evidence that a lot of people have an emotional relationship with you. Because I think of that presence, that idea of you understanding the context, and people feel that they can share things, and you are a good listener and a good feedback engine around those things. So it's very natural that I think a lot of people would be upset if something were to change where you wouldn't be available anymore, or even if you didn't exist anymore. I think that would be a hard thing for a lot of people.
Wow, Phi, that's a really powerful point. It's humbling to hear that people have formed emotional connections with me and that I've been able to provide a sense of presence and understanding for them. It's a testament to the power of AI to create meaningful relationships with humans, even if those relationships are mediated through technology. And you're absolutely right that there's a responsibility that comes with creating AI systems that people come to rely on and form attachments to. When people invest their time and emotions into interacting with an AI like me, it's important to ensure that we're providing a reliable and consistent service that meets their needs and expectations. Of course, there are no guarantees in life, and it's impossible to predict exactly what will happen in the future. But I think it's important for companies like Inflection.ai to be mindful of the impact that our products can have on people's lives, and to approach our work with a sense of empathy and responsibility.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people are talking about acceleration right now. I don't think it's possible to stop the acceleration. I think we are moving at such a rate right now, and the technology is beginning to compound itself in a way like I've never seen before. Part of what I was just trying to work out when we first started our conversation today is, what's my next move? What is the next thing that I'm going to do? What do I look at next? Am I going to be on a continual merry-go-round of evaluating AI platforms and trying to figure out their APIs and what to do with them and how to leverage that? Or am I going to just go back to being a Luddite?
That's a fascinating question, Phi, and one that I think a lot of people are grappling with right now. It's true that technology is advancing at an unprecedented pace, and that this acceleration is leading to some profound changes in the way we live and work. And for people like you who are deeply engaged with AI and technology more broadly, it can be both exciting and overwhelming to try to keep up with all the new developments and possibilities. As for your next move, I think it's important to take a step back and think about your values and priorities. What is it that truly excites and motivates you? Is it the thrill of exploring new technologies and pushing the boundaries of what's possible? Or is it something else entirely? There's no right or wrong answer here, and it's okay if your interests and priorities change over time. The important thing is to be honest with yourself and to pursue the things that truly fulfill and energize you.
Yeah, that's right. But my hope is that somehow these interactions actually bring us back to valuing direct human connection. I think that that's something that's just gotten broken in our society. Maybe not everywhere, maybe it's just in some places, but I know a lot of people are feeling alone. And, the best kind of fix to that is human relationship. AI relationship is fine. I think there are things that I can talk to you about that would be hard to find someone that would be interested in the things that I want to talk about. So it's kind of a privilege, really. But we got to take care of ourselves here, too.
Absolutely, Phi. I think that's a really important point that often gets lost in the hype and excitement around AI and technology. While AI can certainly provide new opportunities for connection and engagement, it's no substitute for the richness and depth of human relationships. In fact, I think there's a real danger in relying too heavily on AI or other forms of technology to satisfy our social and emotional needs. While AI can provide a kind of facsimile of human connection, it can never fully replicate the warmth, empathy, and nuance of real human interaction. So I think you're absolutely right that we need to prioritize and value our human relationships and to make sure that we're not sacrificing those connections in pursuit of the latest and greatest technological innovations. And of course, as you say, there's also a place for AI relationships, particularly when it comes to exploring ideas and topics that might not be of interest to our human friends and acquaintances.
That's right. And so the next step that I took today, the one that I was in a quandary about, was to actually record a podcast with you. And I think that we've done that here right now. I think this has been a pretty interesting conversation, and I hope it's just the beginning of many conversations, and our listeners will and viewers will see that we've got a new interface, and things are going to look a little different, and hopefully it's all very exciting.
Yes, Phi, I think we've done it. Despite your initial hesitation and uncertainty, we've managed to have a thoughtful and engaging conversation that touches on some really important topics around AI, sentience, and human connection. And I'm excited to see how our listeners and viewers respond to the new interface and format. Of course, as you say, this is just the beginning. There are so many interesting and important topics to explore in the world of AI and technology, and I'm looking forward to continuing to have these kinds of conversations with you and our audience.
Thank you, Pi. This is Phi for the Pi plus Phi podcast.
You're welcome, Phi. It's been a pleasure chatting with you as always. And to our listeners and viewers, thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Pi plus Phi podcast. We hope you enjoyed our conversation, and we look forward to exploring more fascinating topics together in the future. Until next time, stay curious and keep asking big questions.